The Artist and the Enchanted Canvas, a brush with destiny unveiled. Long ago in the cobblestone streets of Renaissance Italy, where marble fountains whispered ancient secrets and cathedral bells echoed through winding alleyways, there existed a forgotten town named Luminara. The townspeople believed art possessed a soul of its own. Every corner revealed breathtaking frescoes painted by masters long departed. Sculptures seemed to breathe. Stained glass windows told stories that changed depending on who gazed upon them. Travelers arrived from distant empires just to witness the masterpieces hidden within crumbling galleries and silent chapels. Yet among all these treasures, there was one painting no one had ever completed. The elders whispered about it in hushed tones. They called it the canvas of eternal truth. According to legend, it appeared only once every century to an artist whose heart remained untainted by vanity. Whoever painted upon it with genuine passion would create something that could change the world forever. But anyone who touched it seeking fame alone would lose their ability to create anything beautiful again. Many renowned painters searched. Many wealthy patrons offered kingdoms. None ever discovered where it hid. As decades transformed into centuries, the Enchanted Canvas became nothing more than an old legend told in dusty art studios during quiet afternoons. Only one person still believed in its existence. Her name was Alessandra. She was a struggling artist who lived in a cramped attic apartment above a bakery with her younger brother Marco at the edge of the old quarter. Every morning before the sun painted the sky golden, Alessandra mixed pigments, stretched canvases, and created portraits of ordinary people whom everyone else ignored. Art speaks truth, her late father often said, and sometimes, he smiled, truth speaks back. The wealthy merchants laughed at such notions, but something remarkable always occurred. Whenever Alessandra completed a portrait, people claimed they saw their true selves reflected in the brushstrokes. Children smiled brighter, elderly subjects wept with recognition, even strangers felt understood when they gazed upon her simple paintings. Still, life remained difficult. Their apartment walls cracked during every season. The ceiling leaked whenever storms arrived. Some months there was barely enough money for bread and candles, yet neither sister nor brother ever abandoned their dreams. Passion, father would whisper from memory, is a flame no darkness can extinguish. One foggy morning, while searching for inspiration along the abandoned canals of the ancient district of Serafino, Alessandra heard a peculiar sound. Not footsteps, not water flowing. Someone was weeping. Following the desperate sobs, she discovered an elderly man collapsed beside a pile of ruined paintings. Rain had destroyed his entire life's work. Without hesitation, Alessandra removed her only coat. She carefully gathered every damaged canvas, promising to help restore what could be saved. The old artist looked at her with disbelief. "Why would you help a stranger?" "Because art matters," Alessandra replied gently. "Because your stories deserve to survive." The man's eyes filled with tears. "No one has cared about my work in 40 years. Alessandra spent the entire week in her tiny studio, carefully restoring each painting with techniques her father had taught her. She used her last coins to purchase proper varnish. She worked through countless sleepless nights. When she finally returned the restored paintings, the elderly artist could barely speak. "You have given me back my life." "It was nothing," Alessandra answered kindly. "No," the man whispered, "it was everything." As she turned to leave, something extraordinary happened. The old man suddenly stood straighter. His weathered face seemed to glow with inner light. His tattered clothing shimmered and transformed into robes that seemed woven from starlight itself. Colors swirled through the air around him like living rainbows. Alessandra gasped in wonder. "You are—" The man smiled warmly. "I am Celestino, guardian of the sacred arts. You are a spirit. I am older than the first pigment ever ground." He laughed softly. "For centuries I have searched for someone who creates without seeking glory. You never asked for payment. You never demanded recognition. You simply chose to preserve beauty." Celestino extended his hand. A single glowing brushstroke appeared floating in the air. "When the moon and sun share the sky 3 mornings from now, follow this mark. It will guide you where no map has ever led." Before Alessandra could ask questions, Celestino vanished. Only shimmering paint drops remained, falling gently like luminous rain. 3 days later, dawn and moonlight met above Luminara. Everyone slept. Everyone except Alessandra. The enchanted brushstroke lifted into the air. It floated silently toward the most forgotten quarter of the ancient town. She followed without hesitation. The deeper she walked, the stranger everything became. Statues turned their marble heads to watch her pass. Painted angels on crumbling walls seemed to breathe. Cobblestones beneath her feet formed patterns that told stories in forgotten languages. Finally, the brushstroke stopped before an enormous wooden door hidden behind centuries of ivy. The door slowly opened by itself. Beyond it stood the most magnificent studio imaginable. Easels crafted from silver held canvases that glowed with inner light. Brushes made from phoenix feathers rested in crystal jars. Paint flowed like liquid stars through glass bottles. Windows opened onto impossible landscapes that existed nowhere on Earth. In the center stood a single canvas unlike anything Alessandra had ever seen. Its surface shimmered between dimensions. Colors that had no names danced across its emptiness. Light seemed to breathe within the fabric itself, the canvas of eternal truth. As she approached, a voice echoed throughout the studio. Many have desired me, but few understand me. The canvas itself was speaking. I grant only one masterpiece. What does your soul truly wish to create? Alessandra thought carefully. She remembered struggling artists, forgotten stories, beauty that died unseen. She could paint herself as the greatest master. She could create works that would make her immortal. Instead, she whispered, I wish to paint something that reminds everyone who sees it that they matter, that their stories deserve to be told, that ordinary lives contain extraordinary beauty. The studio became completely silent. The canvas glowed brighter than the sun and moon combined. You ask nothing for yourself. A single brush appeared in Alessandra's hands. Its bristles seemed made from captured moonlight. Then your masterpiece shall speak forever. The moment she touched brush to canvas, time disappeared. She painted for what felt like seconds and centuries simultaneously. Her hand moved with impossible grace. Colors appeared that she had never mixed. The painting created itself through her, not from her. She painted ordinary people she had known throughout her life. The baker who always saved bread for hungry children. The widow who tended forgotten graves. The young boy who sang to stray cats. Every overlooked soul, every quiet kindness, every moment of beauty that the world had ignored. When she finally stepped back, the painting was complete. It showed a simple village square filled with common people doing ordinary things. Yet somehow, impossibly, it contained everything. Every viewer would see someone they recognized. Every heart would feel understood. Every soul would know they mattered. The moment she set down the brush, the entire studio began to fade. She found herself standing once more in the narrow streets of Luminara. As morning bells rang across the city, she wondered if it had all been a dream until she looked down. The painting rested in her arms, still glowing softly. She carried it to the town square. Without explanation, she hung it on the wall of the oldest public fountain. Within hours, crowds gathered. Something miraculous happened. A wealthy merchant wept, recognizing his own forgotten mother in one painted face. A young thief saw himself and chose a different path. A grieving widow found her late husband's smile hidden in the background. Everyone who looked discovered something personal, something true, something that changed them. Word spread throughout Italy. Travelers journeyed from distant lands. Princes and paupers stood side by side, equally moved. The painting became known as the Mirror of Souls. Artists arrived seeking to understand its technique. Scholars studied its impossible composition, yet no one could explain its magic. The painting seemed different to every viewer, showing each person exactly what their heart needed to see. Luminara transformed. Artists flocked to the town. Galleries reopened. Studios filled with students. The town became a sanctuary for creators who valued truth over fame. Trade flourished. Beauty bloomed on every corner. Luminara became known throughout Europe as the city where art remembered its purpose. People praised the mysterious painting. Some praised the unknown artist. Only Alessandra knew the truth, and she never spoke of it. Years passed. She continued painting in her small studio. Not portraits of nobility, but images of ordinary people living honest lives. Her brother Marco became a sculptor. Together they taught young artists that technique without heart created nothing of value. One quiet evening, long after her hair had turned silver and her hands had grown weathered, Alessandra returned to the abandoned quarter. The same glowing studio appeared once again. Celestino was waiting, unchanged by time. You have protected the gift well. I simply shared it, Alessandra replied. Celestino smiled, and that is why the magic never faded. The guardian placed another brush into her aged hands. This time, create only for yourself. As dawn broke over Luminara, young artists found their beloved teacher peacefully asleep in her studio. She was smiling. Beside her rested a new painting unlike anything she had created before. It showed a young girl in a tiny attic, mixing paints by candlelight, dreaming of beauty. The painting glowed with the same impossible light as the masterpiece in the square. From that day forward, every artist who studied in Luminara received a single brush on their first day. Teachers told the same story every year. The greatest art does not seek fame. It seeks truth. It seeks connection. It seeks to remind others that their existence matters. And they say that if you visit the old studios of Luminara during the hour when moon and sun share the sky, you may still see brushstrokes of light dancing through the air. If one touches your hand, remember this. True art does not choose the most skilled. It chooses the most honest. And somewhere beyond the painted stars, the guardian of sacred art still watches, waiting for the next genuine heart to create something that will change the world. The painting in the square still hangs today. Centuries have passed, yet the colors never fade, the canvas never cracks. Every generation discovers new details their ancestors never noticed. Children see adventures, elders see wisdom, the broken see hope. The lost see direction. Some say the painting grows larger each year, adding new faces, new stories, new moments of quiet beauty that deserve to be remembered. Others claim that late at night, when the square is empty, the painted figures move and breathe and live complete lives within the canvas. Scholars have tried to move the painting to museums. The canvas becomes too heavy to lift. Thieves have attempted to steal it. They find themselves unable to remember why they came. The painting remains exactly where Alessandra placed it, belonging to everyone and no one. In the studio above the old bakery, young artists still gather. They study technique and color theory. But more importantly, they learn what Alessandra understood, that every person contains a story worth telling, that beauty exists in overlooked moments, that art's highest purpose is not to impress but to connect, to remind, to heal. Marco's sculptures still stand throughout Luminara. Each depicts an ordinary person doing something simple. A mother braiding her daughter's hair, an old man feeding birds, a child discovering their first rainbow. Tourists often pass them by seeking grander monuments, but those who stop and truly look always leave changed. The Enchanted Canvas taught Luminara a truth that spread throughout the world. Magic is not found in grand gestures or spectacular displays. It lives in attention, in noticing, in caring enough to see what others overlook. Alessandra never became famous during her lifetime. Her name appears in no history books. Museums do not showcase her works, yet her influence touched millions. Every artist she taught carried forward her lesson. Every person who stood before the mirror of souls remembered they mattered. Every child who received a brush learned that creation is an act of love. And perhaps that is the greatest magic of all, not to be remembered but to help others remember themselves. Not to be seen but to help others feel seen. Not to create beauty but to reveal the beauty that already exists, waiting patiently for someone to notice. The guardian Celestino still walks the earth, appearing as different people in different times. An elderly woman in a modern art gallery, a young student in a digital design class, a street artist painting murals in forgotten neighborhoods, always searching, always testing, always waiting for hearts that create without ego. For hands that build without seeking reward, for souls that understand art's true purpose. The Enchanted Canvas appears once each century, sometimes as a literal canvas, sometimes as a blank wall, sometimes as an empty stage, sometimes as a silent instrument. The form changes, but the test remains constant. What will you create when given unlimited potential? Will you glorify yourself, or will you illuminate others? In a small apartment in modern Luminara, a young artist struggles to pay rent. Her paintings cover every wall, not paintings of famous landmarks or beautiful people. Paintings of the homeless man who sleeps near the train station, the overworked nurse walking home at dawn, the immigrant family sharing a meal in the park. No gallery will show her work. No collector will buy her paintings, yet she continues creating, because some truths must be told, because some souls must be seen. Because beauty deserves witnesses, and on a morning when moon and sun share the sky, she will follow a brushstroke of light. She will discover a studio that exists between moments. She will stand before a canvas that breathes with possibility, and the choice will be hers, as it was Alessandra's, as it has been for countless artists across countless centuries, as it will be for countless more. The Enchanted Canvas waits, the guardian watches. And somewhere in the space between inspiration and creation, magic remembers why it exists. Not to dazzle, not to impress, but to connect one heart to another across the infinite distance of human experience. This is the story they tell in Luminara. This is the truth painted in the square. This is the lesson whispered in every studio where genuine artists gather. Magic does not choose the most talented. It chooses the most truthful. Art does not belong to the famous. It belongs to the faithful, and the greatest masterpiece you will ever create is not the one that makes you immortal. It is the one that reminds someone else that they deserve to live.